Brian Daboll, fired. Gone. Goodbye. Now, you shouldn't be celebrating Brian Daboll losing his job, but you should be celebrating the fact that the Giants did what they had to do. He was a dead man walking for, 2 years. You knew this was going to happen. It was inevitable. The same way you knew the Giants were going to lose that game Sunday. It was inevitable that they were going to find a way to lose. And as soon as Dart went down, you just knew. You just knew. And in that game, I had more of an issue with Brian Daboll coaching scared, some of the decisions that were made, than I had with running Jackson Dart. Let's get that out of the way, and we're going to unpack a few things tonight. They're little, buckets of things to talk about. But, I feel like the Jackson Dart protection campaign has been overblown. I feel like people are making way too much about, they run him. Yeah, they have to run him. He's a threat. He's a weapon with his legs. And you know what? He's the guy that the defense, for some reason, still isn't accounted for. He's got more rushing touchdowns than some of the top running backs in the NFL. And he's got great vision running. So, enough with the Jackson Dart stuff. We'll talk about that. It's unfortunate that he's concussed, and he's not going to clear concussion protocol, and he shouldn't. He needs to learn. This is part of him learning. As I watched Jalen Hurts tonight slide and get out of bounds, I hope Jackson Dart was watching and learning from a guy that, he says he appreciates and, met up with after the game and probably models some of his game after. I hope Jackson Dart learns you're too valuable to the franchise to be taking these hits. You can run the ball, but don't go for it all. Sometimes you got to get down. Now, when there's pay dirt there, go ahead, kid. He's got great vision. He's able to run the ball into the end zone. But some of these other hits, it's a 22-year-old kid. And let's start there. He's a 22-year-old kid. Brian Daboll, Mike Kafka, who is now the interim head coach, you have to protect the kid from himself some. 888, you know the number to dial. I mean, we saw this from the preseason. I remember joking in the preseason that he's not going to slide until he's the starter. And I was wrong. He has the ability to slide, but he's also a gamer and a fighter. And, I do feel like if he stays in that game, the Giants find a way to kill the clock, win, do what they got to do, score instead of, kicking a field goal. And that's the thing about Daboll. This is a guy that when we talked about him when he first came in against Tennessee, going for 2, day balls, right? How this coach goes for it. He was coach of the year. He came in and inherited Dave Gettleman's group, and look what he did with them. And look where we are now with Joe Schoen's group. Yeah, I think I should really take aim at Joe Schoen first. I think that it is a wrong decision to split the baby, but I understand the timing of it being, week 10. I get it. Heads have to roll. Brian Daboll had to go. You're not going to fire the GM, but I came into this morning saying, hey, the Miami Dolphins fired their GM, not the head coach. Chris Greer was shown the door, not Mike McDaniel. And then look at how the team rallied behind him in their building to go beat a division rival, one of the top teams in the NFL, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. It's the NFL. Any given Sunday, that can happen. You've seen it year after year where teams get motivated by things like that. But the mistake that is made here is Brian Daboll is respected. And you could tell, right? You don't have to be a Giants fan to talk about Brian Daboll. You don't have to be a Giants content creator, podcaster, or radio host that follows the team. Everybody that watches the NFL spoke about this today. Every radio host in America that speaks about the NFL, this is what, as soon as the news broke, they talked about. Brian Daboll is respected as an X's and O's guy. He's not a bad coach. He's not a good head coach. His record is terrible. And that's going to go on his tombstone. But you just got rid of the best coach in your building. It's very Jet-like. And maybe the Giants said, hey, we got the same amount of wins as the Jets. Over the last 5 years, the Jets are a half game better than us with the tie. And last time we faced the Jets head-to-head, they beat us. And look at the Jets. Off of the trade deadline and the 2 wins they have, the Jets fans are alive. And good for you Jets fans sticking it out with the team. We'll get to them at some point later in the night. Like Aaron Glenn, Darren Muji, they're not going anywhere. They've only just begun. But we've only just begun with this revolving door, repeating the same mistakes with the Giants. Joe Schoen has been caught in 4K over and over and over again being a dumbass GM. Remember I talked about how Joe Schoen has a GM book for dummies that only he follows? The Saquon Barkley saga that has now been documented in Saquon's Amazon Prime show documentary he put together. Also, Hard Knocks. Like, do we have to go back and watch Hard Knocks? Then you've got guys like John Feliciano going out there on his podcast talking about Schoen. Like, there are so many mistakes that Joe Schoen has made with personnel that are fireable offenses. Put Saquon Barkley at the top. And John Marison, I'm going to have a tough time sleeping if he goes like that. You fired that guy that year. As I'm watching the Eagles, who are now 7-2, who continue to make trades. They had Jalen Phillips right away. He's an impact player. Jair Alexander, former Packer. You know, all they do, shout out to Howie Roseman, right? As I say, Jackson Dart should be watching this game looking at Jalen Hurts. Joe Schoen should be watching this game looking at Howie Roseman and how he built this team and how all they do is make trades, how they figure out the numbers, they pay their players, they take care of their, they figure it out. Brian Daboll got fired with a lot of the misses of Joe Schoen. 888-808-1019. When you look at a GM and what they're supposed to do, and I knew Brian Daboll was done, right? He was gone. He was done. They have losses this year that are historic. You can't have games where you're plus 92, 95, 99% to win them and blow them in the NFL. Look at this. This is a 3-point game. They just said that the Packers have 3 games that were 3-point losses. They're a fraud. And honestly, if the Giants were in a better spot this week, you don't know. They could compete with them. I remember watching Tommy DeVito beat Jordan Love and the Packers coming to MetLife Stadium, and they couldn't do anything there. The Packers are fraudulent. They've lost to the Panthers and the Browns. The Giants could beat them, but I don't see them beating them this week with Russell Wilson and Mike Kafka. So you made this decision because the fans need their pound of flesh. You made this decision because it was time. Somebody had to go. Somebody had to get fired. But my biggest thing tonight that doesn't sit well with me, it's nasty work, man. I feel like Mara and Tish got together and they said, okay, now's the time. But when that statement came out that Joe Schoen is going to remain to pick the next coach, help in the search for the next coach, for what? And I'll leave you with this before we break. That's today. That's right now. There's no real way for Joe Schoen to show us the rest of the way whether he deserves to be here. That happens on the field. Like, I think Mike Kafka could win a couple games here, not any of these next 3, really. But Joe Schoen is safe, and I feel like it's just dirty. It's just wrong. He came in with Brian Daboll. He was right next to him through all of this whole process. The kicking issues they've had. Nobody in the secondary issues they've had. No depth. Missing on guys like Jalen Hyatt, Evan Neal. And this video that is circulating now where he made it apparent that Jackson Dart was not his guy, not his pick. And that they were rolling the dice. And Brian Daboll didn't flinch. That's the guy. That's the guy I want. With so much conviction that he would take him at 3. Jackson Dart is everybody's favorite player now. Jackson Dart is the savior. He's the franchise quarterback. He's the one shining thing of this year that you still have. And Brian Daboll is the one working with him. So you better hope that this kid isn't affected losing Brian Daboll the rest of the way. You better hope that this kid isn't the next Daniel Jones, because they're repeating the same mistakes. No? Yes? No? Yes, there's some similar things. Firing the head coach, not firing the GM. Drafting a quarterback, seeing some good things with this quarterback, and now you got to go on a head coaching search. And of course, any head coach would want to play or want to coach with Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatteraboo and Brian Burns and a top pick coming in next year's draft. But after all of us have seen this much video on Joe Schoen, if he's actually the guy to search for the next head coach, it's got to be a guy that he gets along with, that he's got a connection with, that wants to work with him. He's got 1 year left on his contract. I don't know. It's just, to me, I would say this is just for right now. Because somebody could come along, and we're going to talk tonight about it. Like, I don't think they can go with a coordinator or a first-time head coach. They got to hire somebody with experience here. And what experienced head coach is going to come in and say, yeah, I'm going to let Joe Schoen pick the groceries? Because the dinner is going to be completely garbage, trash, no matter who the chef is, if this guy continues to pick the groceries. 888-808-1019. Keith McPherson on the Fan for 2 hours. There's only one thing to talk about. Giants fans, this is the Fan, the home of the New York Giants. You've heard it all day. If you haven't called in, call up and talk to me. Like I said, there are buckets of things to go through as far as personnel and Joe Schoen and the next head coach and Jackson Dart and the play calling and Brian Daboll and all these other things that fall into this. But call me up and we'll talk through it in the next 2 hours. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
It's the Nets and Raptors, 7:30 tomorrow night. The home of Brooklyn Nets basketball is the Fan, 101.9 FM, and always streaming on the Odyssey, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio app.
Nissan trucks and SUVs are built for next-level adventure. Too much gear? Dirt? Rock? Sand? Get in a Nissan truck or SUV and feel unstoppable. Whether you want to take your next level of adventure in the Frontier Dark Armor, the Pathfinder, the Armada, or the Rogue, you'll be ready for what comes your way. Nissan, #1 in new vehicle quality among mainstream brands by J.D. Power. Now get 0% APR financing for 60 months on the 2026 Nissan Rogue Platinum. Visit jdpower.com/awards for information based on 2025 model year 2026 Rogue from new dealer stock. 0 down payment, 60 months financing at $1,667 per month per thousand financed. Down payment may vary, subject to NMAC credit approval. Not all buyers qualify. Dealer contribution may affect actual price. See dealer for details. Ends 12/1/25.
Talk sports with BT and Sal. Middays 10 to 2. WFAN, WFAN FM, WFAN FM HD1 New York, and Odyssey Sports Station.
WFAN Sports Flash.
Good morning at 12 o'clock. I'm Marco Belletti, and this report is sponsored by Chef IQ. Precision cooking, effortless results, chefiq.com. Also brought to you by Dr. Jay Shaw at Samuel Institute for Pain Management. Visit samuelpain.com. Well, what started with so much promise ended with such disappointment. Brian Daboll out as head coach, ending 3+ years where he won Coach of the Year in a road playoff game in year one, but just 11-33 since 2023. Culminated in numerous blown leads in the fourth as the Giants sit at 2-8. Mike Kafka takes over on the interim as it appears to be an audition. GM Joe Schoen being retained. He leads the search for the new coach. Jets back-to-back wins getting set for a Thursday night against the Patriots, but despite that, Aaron Glenn still refusing to let us know if it's going to be Justin Fields or Tyrod Taylor.
I would say this: please don't ask me anything about the quarterback, because I'm not going to tell you, and I don't want to waste my time when it comes to that. When it comes to who's starting.
Well, whoever it is, they won't have Garrett Wilson to throw to. He's out 3 to 4 weeks with a sprained knee. Monday Night Football: Eagles wins to the Packers 10-7 as Brandon McManus missed a 64-yarder that would have tied it as time expired. Rangers finally broke out at home. They doubled the Predators 6-3. Their first win at the Garden this year matches their goal scoring over the first 7 games at home. Artemi Panarin lit the lamp twice. Matt Barzal, your game winner. Islanders outlast the Devils 3-2 in overtime. Ilya Sorokin, 32 saves, and Rutgers disposed of Maine 72-60. 35 degrees, cloudy skies, Central Park. That's what's happening. I'm Marco Belletti.
Get connected with WFAN to talk about your favorite teams. The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeart, and TuneIn apps.
Good morning. It's Tuesday now. Just like that. 11/11. 2025. Let's keep rocking, man. You know what we're talking about. I was laughing at myself hearing Aaron Glenn. And shout out to the YouTube stream. Good to be back on. I just sent out the link on my Twitter. I got to get that up on Instagram. But, Aaron Glenn is hilarious to me with this, don't ask about the quarterback. It doesn't matter, bro. Real competitive disadvantage with Justin Fields. And I'm happy for the Jets. Really happy for the Jets. A great day honoring Nick Mangold. They did right by Nick Mangold and his family. You get a 74-yard return. You get 2 special teams returns. That's what won the game. That's what swung the game. It wasn't Justin Fields. But anyway, 888-808-1019. Let's talk to the fans. Jets fans, you can get involved too. Like I said, I think this is very Jet-like. It doesn't work. It's not going to do anything this year to fire the head coach. You're not, but I get it. He was a dead man walking. The whole thing was, hey, draft your quarterback, develop him, win some games. And this is going to be a year, and depending on what happens the following years with the next head coach and Jackson Dart, Giants fans are going to remember this year because you should have beat the Dallas Cowboys with Russell Wilson. You should have beat the Saints with Jackson Dart. You should have beat the Denver Broncos. You should have beat the Chicago Bears. But coulda, woulda, shoulda, man. It's the NFL. If this happened, if we went for it here, if we didn't kick this field goal, if this guy made a stop, if Shane Bowen didn't run this coverage, and that's another thing. Shane Bowen is safe. But he has to be. He has to be. Who are you going to elevate to be the defensive coordinator the rest of the way? You got the best coach up out of the building. Good luck. 888-808-1019. Mark is in Jersey first on the Fan.
Yo, what's up, Keith? How
What's
you
up?
doing?
Good.
Yeah, I just want to say, I used to respect you like crazy until you said you're not a Cowboy fan anymore.
No, sir.
What does that mean?
I'm a free agent. I root for parlays.
Dude, you're a grown man.
Correct. So I can make choices like a grown man.
No. You have Joe Beningo, 7-year-old Jet fan. He suffered way more than you, and you're just gonna bandwagon them like that? Come on, Keith.
I'm not choosing to suffer. I've got nothing to do with Joe Beningo.
I don't know, man.
I'm a free agent. You don't have to know. I don't know you. What are we talking about? Let's talk about Brian Daboll, the Giants. No?
Okay, fine. I want to say one thing about Brian Daboll is that Brian Daboll got fired, but he was put in that position by Joe Schoen. When are they going to get rid of Joe Schoen?
At the end of the year, I hope. I think that by the end of the year, and it's smart. Thanks for the call, Mark. And we'll get to my fandom in a second, which doesn't matter. By the end of the year, this is going to be the number one job. This is going to be the most coveted job. And it actually behooves you to get ahead of Black Monday before Black Friday. You know what I'm saying? The whole world knows, hey, that job is open now. Mike Kafka's going to get a shot as the interim, but I don't expect him to actually land the job because I think there are going to be experienced head coach candidates that want the job. I think there's going to be just a longer list of guys where they won't default into going to Mike Kafka like the Dallas Cowboys defaulted into going to Brian Schottenheimer, which brings up my next point. And I will go over this for eternity. I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm a grown man now. I grew out of that, thankfully. I made that decision when I was 5. Now I have a 2.5-year-old son. He's not making any decisions at 5. I wouldn't let a 5-year-old make any decisions for me. But I was able to do that. It was cool for a little while. But then I watched for all of these years. And I made a decision this year as I just watched Micah Parsons and the Packers. That was it for me with Jerry Jones. And you know what? Life has been a lot better. I don't put on a clown suit on Sundays. I don't go out in public with a star on. I root for parlays. And I'm an NFL free agent until my baby boy says, hey, this is who I like, Dad. Buy me this jacket. Buy me this shirt. Buy me this jersey. I want to go to this game. And when that happens, we're both going to ride. It could happen right here in New Jersey in East Rutherford. My son's name is Jackson. If he wants to be a Jackson Dart Giants fan, I'm not stopping him from doing that because in the early 90s, Daddy chose the team that was winning Super Bowls and nobody stopped him. Can we stop talking about that? Great. Anyway, Michael is in Orangeburg, New York on the Fan. What's up, Michael?
How we doing?
Fantastic on the Fan.
Again. I talked to you one time during the Mets season, and we had a good combo. But I'll just talk on this Dart and Daboll situation. I loved watching Dart run down and gather yards, and at the 1 yard line, that one game they gave him 2 or 3 chances at the 1 yard line, losing by 21 or whatever. It was a little bit too much, and I think Daboll was trying to make him succeed for himself. And I love Daboll, and maybe we should have kept him for 9 weeks here at the end of the year to develop Dart. But I'm not so upset about him being gone.
Yeah.
I think they need to slow it down with Dart. Let Dart reset. Neighbors is not even there. It's just it was a thing that I thought Daboll was pushing Dart to the limit.
Sure.
Instead of teaching him, and I think that's like one of my main points there.
That's a great point. That's part of coaching scared, which I don't get, right? Because you should be coaching scared of losing your job, where you're going for it. You're not kicking field goals. You're going for it. You're not settling for less. You've got nothing to lose. But then there's another part of coaching scared, where you are putting this kid in harm's way because he's your number one weapon. He's your only real weapon without Neighbors, without Scattaboo. You know what I'm saying? You put him in harm's way when you're down, it's foolish. But it's not just him. It's Mike Kafka, right? Kafka calls the plays. I know Brian Daboll can override it. He could veto a play, he could say, hey, maybe we should stay. But that was in the Niners game. We knew this was coming. The kid got his ass kicked in the Niners game. He took a lot of hits in the Niners game. And I'm watching the game, I'm like, yo, he's out there by himself now. That's the first game without Scattaboo. You got to protect him. The kid is a warrior. He's going to fight. He's going to stay in the fight until he's knocked out of the fight. Now, a couple things with that, right? When I talk about Dart and his legs and design runs, you got to do that. You got to do that to keep the defense honest, to attack the line of scrimmage. Before my open, I said he's not accounted for. When the defense goes out there, he's the man that they don't have somebody for. And his vision and his running ability, I can't tell you how impressed I am with this kid, bro. And then I also don't like how people are trying to act like they're running him like a running back. They're using the run when they have to. In the San Francisco game late, there's no point in design runs for the quarterback down because he's taking unnecessary hits and he's pretty reckless. But you can't take that out of his game. You can't take that out of the offensive play calls. He scored 2 rushing touchdowns, right? We've seen him. He had 7 rushing touchdowns. I think there was a stat that was out there. If I go back to my notes, he's got more rushing touchdowns than Saquon. So, part of me is yes, you have to use him and you have to run him and use his legs. But I felt like there was definitely a part of Daboll that was doing it because he's coaching to win every game. He's coaching to not lose his job. And that turns into abuse. Let's see. Ari Merov on Twitter said, Jackson Dart's rookie year, evaluated for a concussion 4 times. He's taken 75-plus hits. Leads all QBs with 25 design runs, despite not starting until week 4. He also was battling a hamstring and an ankle injury. You got to know all of that, and you got to have a bigger picture. This team was not making the playoffs. I know Brian Daboll needed to win to save his job. I mean, honestly, the last time I was on was before the Niners game and obviously before this Chicago game, where I still thought, hey, they're not going to fire him if he's able to win some of these games. There's still some winnable games. I said if he can win 4 out of these last 8 games, maybe he saves his job because of the marriage with Dart. But no, Dart has shown you every week he's gotten better. He is a competitor. Some of the throws that this kid makes, just the balls that it takes to throw in those tight windows and know you can make the throw. He is at 22 years old. I watch him play quarterback, and I can't believe it, honestly. And I give some credit to Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka and Tierney and who's in the building with them. But ultimately, I give the credit to Jackson Dart. It doesn't matter what stadium they're in, on the road or in Giant Stadium. It doesn't matter who's on the field. Whether it's Malik Neighbors, Cam Scattaboo, he will throw to Gunnar Olszewski, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Bo Collins. It doesn't matter about the personnel around him. It doesn't matter if Jermaine Illuminor is hurt. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter who's calling the plays. A baller is a baller. He's a hooper. A hooper is going to hoop no matter what. That is what I see in Jackson Dart, and I believe that is going to continue no matter who is the head coach, no matter who is the offensive coordinator, no matter what offensive scheme they're running. But it's unfortunate to see that kid get hit like that. I put out a tweet earlier about his helmet. I'm always looking at these guys' helmets in the NFL because the helmets changed so much from when I was a kid and when I was playing. Even from Pop Warner to college, my helmet changed a bunch. But I'm like, they need to give him a different helmet. I don't know what the most recent concussion helmet is. I know there's some guys like you saw Romeo Dobbs tonight with the Guardian cap. Maybe put the Guardian cap on him. I doubt he's going to want to wear it because he is all swag. He's cool. He's the coolest guy on the field, from head to toe. He's got the Anakin Skywalker eye black. He's got the headband. He's got the chain. He's got the Jordan 11s. You know what I'm saying? So but when I look at some of the hits that he's taken, if you look at my Twitter, 12 hours ago, I said, I think Dart needs a different helmet, different brand. It's always loose. It's low on his eyes. It gets pushed off easy. I know he's about looking cool, but a tighter chin strap is needed. Hell, give him a Guardian cap at this point. They're not going to do it, but I have seen his helmet move so much. And there's a way to avoid something he lost a tooth. He got hit in the teeth, but that's because his chin strap came up, man. I remember always talking about, hey, here we go, boys. Buckle your chin straps. Because that meant, strap your lid on. Somebody's coming to take your head off. And for Jackson Dart to be playing, he's got the, chin strap protector. I know this is getting deep into, equipment, but it plays into it. He's got the chin strap protector that looks cool, but I think it slides off of his chin, his face structure. They need to change his helmet. When he comes back next week, not this week, he should have a different helmet and a tighter chin strap and one that's secure, that they put him through some type of test that thing does not move, man. Let's go to Dave in Rockland County on the Fan next. What's up, Dave?
Two questions. One Giants related, one Jets related. First, Giants. Do you think that Kafka is going to use Jameis Winston as quarterback now, or do you think it's going to be the same?
First big decision for Kafka this week as head coach. He better. We don't need to see Russ anymore. There's no reason to play Russ unless Jameis gets hurt. At this point now, why not? And you're going to be at home in your own building. And I was there when they beat the Eagles and when Dart went into the tent, and Brian Daboll also had to get fired because he cost the organization $200,000 for that going into the tent. But I remember vividly, as soon as Russ came in and skipped the ball across the turf, boo! The fans don't want to see it. They don't want to see it. So give us Jameis Winston, please.
And then one more question, Jets related. Do you see a future with Isaiah Davis as the main running back and trading away Breece Hall for high draft picks?
I don't.
First round, second rounds?
I don't. Thanks for the call, Dave. I mean, what else do you need to see from Breece Lightning? They didn't trade him away. I think he's been assured by the people in charge, Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, that he's a cornerstone of this franchise. He's a workhorse. I think they're going to try and bring him back. Fleas just said in my ear, what are you talking about? Trade him. His contract is...
He's a free agent. He can't trade him.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I'm he was drafted in the same draft as Sauce and...
But he was a second-round pick, so he's a free agent at the end of the year. That's only a 4-year rookie contract. They would have to franchise him or sign him at the end of the year.
I think they're going to try and bring him back. I think they're going to try and sign him. They're freeing up some money with the moves that they made. And, I mean, he is a guy that I think has value to Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn. If they want to trade him, now is the time to trade him, Now, he could choose to go elsewhere, but in this NFL, I mean, we'll see. With these running backs now, some of them are getting paid, but, where is he going to go? And who's going to bid higher than the Jets? I don't know. I don't see them. They can't trade him, and then I don't see them moving on from him. The trade deadline just passed, and he was a big part of that win on Sunday. And I think as they're talking about the foundation they're building and who want to fly with them freaking Jets, they look at him as a Jet. They look at him as one of the guys. Quinnen Williams is gone. Sauce Gardner is gone. I think Breece is a guy that they're trying to keep around. 888-808-1019. Speaking of keeping a guy around, and I just mentioned, Joe Schoen, this Saquon Barkley stuff, there's a clip that I have on my Twitter as well as I was digging through things. Saquon Barkley wouldn't even refer to, he referred to Joe Schoen as that man. And he talked about during his saga with that man, right? Joe Schoen was playing games with Saquon Barkley. Didn't value him as the superstar that he is, and also didn't value him as the man that he was in that clubhouse, in the community, and his importance to Giants fans. He was playing a game. He was playing Joe Schoen's GM book for dummies. Oh, I'm not going to pay Daniel Jones this much to hand off to a running back making this much. Remember? The Eagles will, and they'll take that to the Super Bowl. So, like, as we're going to continue talking about the Giants and the state of the Giants for the rest of the season, the main guy in the scope now is Joe Schoen. Daboll's gone, done. But there's going to be a lot of people critical of, like, why does this guy get to stay? Why does this guy get to have a hand in picking the next guy? And I know, Marin Tisch, right now, right, you can give the fans the pound of flesh by firing the head coach that lost these games in a historic fashion. You know, the numbers are coming out. They said it was 1 in 60,000 that the Giants would lose all 3 of those games that they had over a 92% probability of winning. You got to fire him. He deserved to be fired. He deserved to be fired the last couple of years. Like, I get that. But he didn't lose those games alone. He doesn't take a snap. He doesn't cover anybody. He doesn't put his hand in the dirt. Like, Joe Schoen put together this roster that has no depth. After their starting players go down, which happens across the league, like, they have no depth. Right? Is it Brian Daboll's fault that Andrew Thomas wasn't ready to go and James Hudson was the guy signed to fill in for him? Remember how terrible his performance was to start that Dallas game? Maybe that Dallas game is different if they have a different guy there, right? Is it Brian Daboll's fault that the kicking situation with Jude McAtamey and Graham Gano and Younghoe Koo, like, is that on Brian Daboll? They didn't solve that. You know, it's documented. They wanted Jalen Hyatt, and it seemed like Joe Schoen was so hard-pressed on getting him. Now, it didn't work out with Brian Daboll and his scheme, but, like, that's a Joe Schoen guy. Evan Neal, Kayvon, Deontay Banks. You know, and like Deontay Banks, I remember them saying that was a Wink Martindale guy. Okay, well, if you're drafting a player for Wink Martindale and then Wink Martindale is gone after that, like, make it make sense. The general manager is supposed to generally manage everything. Brandon is in the Bronx with us next on The Fan. What's up, Brandon?
It's funny. I'm calling for Joe Schoen, and then you just run down this list. That's hilarious. But you don't run down the list of the positives. I mean, no team hits on all their picks. But I hope he stays. You know, he took Dart. He got Scatterbull in the 4th round, traded for Burns. I mean, hopefully he stays. I really hope they don't fire him.
I mean, he's got one more year on his deal, and they basically came out today and said that he will stay to find the next coach. Give him a ton of credit for the Brian Burns move. But you know what that was? That was him trying to make up for the fans being disappointed in what happened with Saquon Barkley. And, like, who makes a bigger impact? A Saquon Barkley or Brian Burns? They're losing with Brian Burns, being Defensive Player of the Year candidate.
Keith, I had no problem losing Saquon because he wasn't winning with him. I had no problem with that.
You're not winning with Brian Burns either. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can give the guy props for trading for Spider-Man, but he's not making enough of an effect to win you games. Caleb Williams is running by him as well.
According to you and the impulsive New York fans, let's just fire everybody, do away with the team and the organization.
No. Fire these 2 guys that wrote in. Thanks for the call, Brandon. Let's break it down. There's 2 things with these guys that were their MOs. Brian Daboll gets linked to Josh Allen all the time. Too much. So much so, McDermott's having a press conference with the Bills after they're coming off that loss, and a reporter asks, hey, any interest in bringing Brian Daboll back? No, we're not thinking about that right now. But people are talking about Joe Brady getting a head coaching job and Brian Daboll going back there because he's respected as an offensive coordinator, X's and O's guy. I have not heard one person speak down on Brian Daboll as far as being a coach, being in that film room. You understand what I'm saying, right? His MO was he helped develop Josh Allen. He also was at Alabama with Mac Jones and Tua and Jalen Hurts. Right? This guy's going to come here and be a quarterback whisperer. Look what he got out of Daniel Jones in the first year. Then, injuries and other things that went south. Look what he got out of Tommy DeVito. Some of you guys were ready to make Tommy cutlets. the next Tom Brady. And then Jackson Dart. They go through their process. They don't want Shedeur Sanders. Joe Schoen rather have Cam Ward. Brian Daboll has so much conviction over Jackson Dart. He's saying draft him at 3. Trade back up and get him. So, like, that was what Brian Daboll was supposed to do. Find your quarterback. It took too long, honestly. Year 4, you find the quarterback, and the defensive personnel and the defensive coordinator and some other shortcomings on the team, it wasn't enough to win with him to save your ass. Okay, but that was his MO. What was Joe Schoen's MO? Joe Schoen's MO was that he was with this crew in Buffalo that built that team through the draft, and he was going to come here and do the same. Do we need to go through the past drafts? I'm not giving him credit for Jackson Dart. I give Brian Daboll all the credit for that's my guy. Get him. Abdul Carter, my 2.5-year-old son would say, yeah, take Abdul Carter if he's sitting there. They took Travis Hunter. Take Abdul Carter. And there's another thing going on with Abdul Carter conversation. Please stop. As if Abdul Carter as a rookie has not been productive. I was listening to Greg Olsen talk about how he gets some of the most pressures in the NFL. He's always disruptive. He will get there. And, like, if you watched him at Penn State, you know he's going to grow into a guy that gets sacks. And sacks aren't always, like, honestly, Brian Burns is getting a lot of the sacks that he's getting because of the pressure that Abdul Carter is applying. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of conversation about where's Abdul Carter been? He has been applying pressure. He hasn't gotten home. Kayvon is another one applying pressure. Hasn't got home. Oh, Kayvon is under Joe Schoen. Evan Neal. Like, you could get fired off of Evan Neal. That is a huge miss, bro. That is a huge miss. Your first draft, you come in and draft Kayvon and Evan Neal. You draft Wan'Dale Robinson before George Pickens, Trey McBride, and there was another guy out there that's a pass catcher that they went to Wan'Dale Robinson, Lil Wan'Dale for. Okay. But Josh Azudu, other guys, man, that they just completely missed on. And yes, Keith, not everybody hits on their picks, but he's got a ton of whiffs. Like the Giants' defensive line had a ton of whiffs trying to tackle Caleb Williams. Deonte Banks is a miss. John Michael Schmitz, here, there, but like I can't really say that's a hit. Eric Gray, Trey Hawkins. And like once you get to the 6, 7 round, those guys mostly don't pan out. Whatever. I can give him credit for Cam Scatterbu. I think anybody should have taken Cam Scatterbu at that point. As Cam Scatterbu was dropping, I'm like, how are they missing this kid? And if you listen to me, how many times have I told you about Cam Scatterbu? I was the one on air while he was playing against Texas. Like, yo, this kid is a freak. But there's a ton of misses. I'm still not sure about Tyler Nubin. You know? Andrew Phillips, I thought I was high on, and like it's still yet to be seen in year 2 for those guys. Malik Neighbors is another one. I think Malik Neighbors, from what I remember in that pro day, Daboll's eyes were lighting up. He was smiling. I think Malik Neighbors was a guy that Brian Daboll also was like, yeah, this guy. And if Marvin Harrison Sr. didn't name his kid Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors should have been the number 1 receiver in that draft. So, like, what I'm saying is, folks, Joe Schoen was supposed to come here and build this team through the draft. Now, here's the kicker here before we get to the break. As a GM, obviously, you're supposed to be able to draft and hit on these players and recognize talent and bring them in. But you know what he did? Which I've been talking about for 4 years. I've been here all 4 years. My first show ever, they fired Jason Garrett that day. You know what he did that rubs me the wrong way? He traded Leonard Williams to Seattle. Have you seen Seattle's defense? You watched them over the weekend, the last couple weeks? He traded Leonard Williams to his preferred destination. That was Sexy Dexy's right-hand man, literally. He let Saquon Barkley walk to your division rivals and lead them to a Super Bowl. Oh, Keith, I don't care because we weren't winning anyway. But the Eagles might not have done what they did without that key ingredient that you allowed. After the owner said, I don't want that to happen. And the list goes on from Evan Ingram to Julian Love, who I just saw John Feliciano talking about. Yo, he let a lot of these guys go. Xavier McKinney. I thought Sterling Shepard was done. He's still getting it in with Baker Mayfield in Tampa. We do this all the time. We go through the list of Gettleman's guys. Now, wait for this next one. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, who you paid. You did pay him. But, like, you should have picked up his rookie option. But you didn't like him, right? So you didn't pick up his rookie option. He leads you to the playoffs, and then you got no choice but to pay him because he's your quarterback now. The fans are chanting, Daniel Jones. You got to pay the guy that you didn't want. But there's a clause in his contract where last year you cut the guy. Well, you didn't cut the guy. You benched the guy, and then he asked for his release. You benched that man, and you completely lost the locker room. Brian Daboll's in the locker room. I think those players, and when you ask them after the game, whether it's Brian Burns or Dexter Lawrence or whomever, when you ask those players, they don't put it on Brian Daboll. They say, we got to be better. We got to get it done. The players got to be better. But, like, you're relying on Corey Black. You know what I'm saying? A guy that was a 7th-round pick, got cut, was with the Jets practice squad. You bring him back in, he's in the game. You're relying on these guys. There's no depth. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, I don't know. I look at Joe Schoen as a guy that came in and like, Hard Knocks is damning. And some of the other YouTube content and stuff, there's a lot of misses in there. And as a GM, you're supposed to hit in the draft. And I think I wouldn't even say he's 50-50 in the draft. I'd say I'd give him a 40 or maybe a 30% grade on that test so far with his drafting. Because I got to bring that number lower. Kayvon is not who, you know, and Kayvon is not a complete bust, but he's not right under like an Aiden Hutchinson type. And you saw how Aiden Hutchinson just got paid. And then also Evan Neal. Evan Neal is a fireable offense. That guy was a blue chip, Alabama, went to IMG. What happened? As soon as he talked about the people in New York making hot dogs and flipping burgers, he was a rap. What happened to Jalen Hyatt? You're the general manager. You're supposed to manage these things. So the misses in the draft, as well as the players that you passed on, that you let walk, Gettleman's guys. Gettleman has all pro players in the NFL elsewhere. He's got guys in MVP consideration back-to-back years that you showed the door to. What are you doing? This is a GM book for dummies that only Joe Schoen lives by. And now, you know who's the dummy? The Giants, if they continue this, firing the head coach, right, making them the scapegoat, throwing them under the bus, and sticking with the GM. Because the coach can only coach the players that he's given. The coach can only coach the players that are drafted, the players that are signed. Hell, I'm firing you for giving Russell Wilson $10 million. 888-808-1019. We have to take a break. This is Keith McPherson on The Fan. I haven't been on for a while. If you would like to talk to me, call up. We will be right back.
Regular season battles in football. Off-season moves in baseball. The Yankees, Mets, Giants, and Jets all live here. The Fan, 101.9 FM, and always streaming on the Odyssey, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio app.
Looking for the lowest price on name brand tires? Get to Town Fair Tire and get the guaranteed lowest price on any name brand tire. Nobody beats a Town Fair Tire deal. Nobody.
Town Fair Tire.
With over 90 years of combined legal experience representing the law enforcement community, Decolator Cohen and DePrisco, LLP, continues to strive to educate police officers of their civil rights to sue in line-of-duty accident cases. The 2025 Police Officers' Right to Sue newsletter can be viewed on policeofficersrighttosue.com and provides successful results in varying line-of-duty accident cases. These results include damages recovered from RMP accidents involving the City of New York and civilian motorists, station house defects, ricochet injuries from the range, private premises slip and falls, sidewalk slip and falls, construction defects, snow and ice cases, and injuries emanating from defective RMPs. In any LOD accident, it is important for the officer to take photographs of any defects, injuries, or damage. It is also essential to draft the line-of-duty report and detail the cause of the accident in the paperwork. Remember, there's a 90-day time limitation to file a claim against a municipality. If any law enforcement member has a question regarding a potential lawsuit, contact Decolator Cohen and DePrisco, LLP at policeofficersrighttosue.com or call 1-800-901-1529.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9834. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-9834. That's 800-575-9834. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people. Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found Tax Relief Advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-491-9914. 800-491-9914. That's 800-491-9914.
This is J.J. Hill of Shulman & Hill, New York's premier injury law firm. We'll always stand up for you if you're injured in a slip and fall. If you've ever wished you had a lawyer in the family, now you will. At Shulman & Hill, it's never one and done. Once you're a client, you're always part of our family. Shulman & Hill, we're not just New York's law firm, we're your law firm. Get your free consultation at hurtny.com. That's hurtny.com.
At Town Fair Tire, New England's largest name brand discount tire dealer, you get it all. The guaranteed lowest price, the most free services, and we accept all valid rebates from any manufacturer and from our competition. Yes, we accept them all, even competitor rebates. Town Fair Tire, New England's largest discount tire dealer, now with over 120 stores from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Name brands at discount prices. Town Fair Tire.
Talk sports hands-free. 888-808-1019. Powered by Paramount Plus. Count on Sundays all season long with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
Oh, yeah. Little French Montana. Max B is home. Free to wave. The wave is free. The Silver Surfer. Big Ovell. It's kind of crazy, man. Like, Max B, I think, just did 16 years. And 16 plus years ago, maybe it was 17 years. The time I can't really remember or go back to. But I live in Jersey, and I used to date this girl who worked in the court up there in North Jersey where Max B was on trial. And she spoke a bunch of different languages. She spoke French, Italian, Spanish. So she had a job in the court as like a translator. And I want to say this had to be like 2007 or 8 because I met her at JMU. She was a Jersey girl down in Virginia. So like, you know, we kind of linked, and then, you know, I would see her at holidays and summers and whatnot. And then I remember her telling me a story about being, you know, in the elevator and then in the courtroom area with some rappers. She had no idea. I was like, that was Max B and them, Coke Boys, French Montana. I'm like, yo, like, you don't know? She's like, I had no idea. She's like, one of the guys hit on me. She's like, I was just working, but I know you would know who they were. And I mean, fast forward all these years now, Max B is free. Anyway, I just came back from vacation. Story of the ex. Speaking of the ex, wildest thing that happened to me on vacation. Great time. I was in a destination unknown, a resort, and my son got loose, and I'm chasing my son around. And I come around from this like area where we're eating dinner to this like lobby area. And I hear, Keith? And I don't know. I don't know who's going to be there. And I turn around, and I'm with my wife and my son. My wife is chasing my son to the right. I'm chasing my son to the left. And I hear, Keith? And I turn back and I look, and I'm like, yo. It was like a weird dream. It was like a ghost of Christmas past. It was one of my ex-girls. I'm like, what is the chances? I don't know. Universe never unconnects. I'm like, there's a smaller chance that the Bears come back and beat the Giants than this girl being at the same resort that I'm at X amount of years after I hadn't seen her or talked to her. And I was about to go to Mike in Miami as my segue, and he dropped off because I was down there in South Florida and went down to the Keys. And, I mean, those delays coming out of – I ended up going to Fort Lauderdale Airport, and the delays were – I don't wish it on anybody, especially if you got a young kid. Of course, I end up going down to Miami and then driving down to, the Florida Keys area and then trying to get back. I missed the whole election up here. I missed the trade deadline up here. And then the government shutdown happens, and I'm trying to get back up here. And they are just pushing the flight back. And then you get to the airport, and it's a ghost town. And, like, nobody's working, and you're just waiting to get on the flight. I even had some delays going out. But anyway, Mike's topic, and Mike, call back if you'd like. Mike's topic was that he wants Mike McCarthy. I think I saw Loogie tweet this out. That's not what you want, folks. It's not what you want. You want the Giants to return to greatness. You want Jackson Dart to lead you back to the Super Bowl. That is possible. I'm not going to hold you. Like, the way that this kid hoops, when he gets Malik Neighbors back, when Cam Scatterbo is there, if they can shore up this offensive line with Andrew Thomas, if they can get the defense in order, like, it's not crazy to think that they could be a contender. If some of those games flip this year, they'd be in the hunt. Mike McCarthy's not the guy. Mike McCarthy is a guy that fooled a lot of people, like Jerry Jones. See, my experience comes into play here as a former Dallas Cowboys fan. If you think right now you're upset with Brian Daboll's in-game management decisions late, try on Mike McCarthy for size. You don't want that. Mike McCarthy, he's good enough to win you some regular season games, but then he's not going to know when to go for it on 3rd and short, 4th and short. He's not going to know when to use timeouts, clock management, terrible, in the big games and the big situations. He was able to win with Aaron Rodgers, but then they got him up out of there. Jerry Jones showed him the door in favor of Brian Schottenheimer. I don't think that was the right move. If you look at what the Dallas Cowboys are right now, I think Mike deserved another shot. But Mike was supposed to be this like guy that took a year off and was really working on offense and like all this other stuff. And I don't think that's the answer. But let's have that conversation. That's one of the buckets right now. Who do you want to be the Giants' next head coach? 888-808-1019. In the chat, Chip Saunders says Lane Kiffin. I don't think Lane Kiffin, who did have a stint, I think he was a Raiders coach in, 2010, the year. Lane Kiffin, Raiders coach. 2007 to 2008. See, the time is flying. 2007, 2008 is when I was kicking it with that girl that met Max B in the court. Lane Kiffin, I think, is doing just fine where he is. I think he's comfortable where he is. I think he likes where he is. He goes from, Jackson Dart to what's Buddy's name now? Who's balling for them? I forget their quarterback's name. They got a good quarterback at Ole Miss. Trinidad Chambliss. Yeah. I don't think Lane Kiffin is an option, but he is obviously someone with head coaching experience. I feel like the guy that's going to clean up this giant mess, pun intended, can't be a first-time head coach. This market he can't do it. This market is too crazy. This is too big of a job. There's too high of expectations. It's got to be somebody with head coaching experience. So let's go through the list. Cliff Kingsbury is a name that comes up. And I joke, shout out to my boy Alex Day. Alex Day is always posting his Giants misery on Sundays. And, he posted something today. And I said, Brian Daboll and Cliff Kingsbury could swap jobs. Things are going south for the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is hurt. Cliff Kingsbury could want out, right? He did his little time, taking a step down. He could want out and want another head coaching job. That's the kind of guy that you pair with Jackson Dart. I think they'll speak the same language. He'd be a good offensive coordinator. And that's another thing. Or he'd be a good offensive coordinator going back to head coach. He was with Kyler Murray in Arizona. That's another thing. You need someone with experience, and you need an offensive-minded guy. So, for people talking about John Gruden or Brian Flores or Bill Belichick or Antonio Pierce, no. Those are defensive-minded guys. Gruden, I think, he's both. But with Gruden and Flores, both of those guys are suing the NFL. The Giants are a legacy team. Mara and Tisch are old school. They also were implicated in the Brian Flores controversy the first time, if you remember correctly. Brian Flores, even though he's a New Yorker, defensive-minded guy, he doesn't get this opportunity, I don't believe. He's suing the league. And then also, he was really tough on Tua. He made Tua cry, and I just think they'll stay away from messing that up. You really can't mess up this situation with Jackson Dart. Maybe you already did. We don't know. I honestly think Dart is going to ball. He's going to play hard no matter who he's playing for. And I wouldn't worry too much about that. Who else did I have on this list? Antonio Pierce, whose name has popped up, former Giant. I heard him ranting about the Giants 2 weeks ago, and he started talking about, I know Neighbors is hurt. I know Scatterbo was hurt. But that defense, list the players that were hurt on the defense. They got some guys back. But you can't leave out, they're down their linebackers. They're down guys in the secondary. You can't leave that out. You can't leave that out. Antonio Pierce, he only got that opportunity with the Raiders because that's the Raiders. You know what I'm saying? Davis and how they run things out there, it was short-lived. They tried to keep it going. He wasn't cut out for it. Who else is out there that they're talking about? Jesse Minter with the Chargers, another defensive guy. I don't think is going to get this, and a first-time guy. I don't know. I think that they are going to look for experience. Oh, Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is another guy that I look at as. You think he's coming here to work for Joe Schoen? That was the whole thing with him going to Atlanta. Down in Atlanta, they liked the GM that they had, and so they didn't give that job to Belichick because Belichick, coming from the Parcells coaching tree, he knows for a fact he's got to be able to go to the grocery store, pick out the groceries, and cook the dinner. Who is going to be willing to chef up with the grocery list that Joe Schoen brings to the table? No matter who it is, it might be a whack meal. It might not work. You might not be able to cook up with what he provides. So, that is a perplexing Pegasus in itself. Let's go to Carlos and Clifton on the Fan next. Carlos, who do you want to coach the Giants?
Keith, I don't even know. Right now, I'm just I just want us to get better. I was just thinking how ironic it would be if we continue along this path and the Jets got to call us on draft day. I got the one pick. We could do something and get some of that draft capital. That would be crazy. But as a coach, you mentioned it. I would have loved Brian Flores. I just think they dropped the ball on that one. And I know he's a little rough. And I think whoever they get, Dart's going to be okay. But Dart has to realize the Giants will only win if he's in the game. And he has to stop being stubborn. And you got to slide. You got to run out of bounds. But, Keith, you saw that game Sunday.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, we had him wrapped up. I could count 10 different times.
Yeah.
And it's like they hit spin on the joystick.
And then when they did sack him, they had penalties. It was super frustrating to watch. It's like You can't let this guy wiggle out that many times because that's his whole game. That's how he extends plays. That's how he's able to run. That's how he's able to find open wide receivers. So that's the game in itself too.
Right.
But Brian Daboll wasn't rushing the passer.
Right. Now, do you think they get in the draft? No, they have to get another wide receiver. That's going to be our emphasis this year. Get our wide receiver or get another pick because we don't know. I know they Neighbors drastic injury. Scatterable, that's a drastic injury. Like they got to get something for this guy.
Yeah, maybe
and I'll let you go because I know you got it.
Thanks for the call, Carlos. Yeah, Tankathon has Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State, who's regarded as the number one wide receiver. Okay, maybe. But I look at wide receiver as like a position that you can find. Maybe Joe Schoen can't find him. But wide receiver is a position that you should be able to find late in drafts. Go find a Puka Nacua. It's tough. I think there'd be more of a position of need, maybe the best defensive player. But like you have Kayvon under contract. You have Abdul Carter. Usually if you take a guy that high, and right now on Tankathon, the Giants are picking 3. They're probably going to have a top 5 pick no matter what. They don't need a quarterback. I don't know. I don't have that answer right now. There's so much to be seen by then. There's so much. There's so many more college games, NFL games, the combine before we get there. I guess in theory, like Neighbors is rehabbing an ACL. He might not be ready to go by the time week 1 comes, and you need to get him a weapon. But you paid Darius Slayton. That's another thing, Joe Schoen. And Slayton balled out. That one-handed grab was solid. Good to see a captain, a guy that was paid, come along and help Jackson Dart this past weekend. They still lost. But, yeah, there's a lot of fans that hold it against Joe Schoen that the same money that you could have signed Saquon with, you gave it to Darius Slayton. Kyle is in Bayonne on the Fan next. What's up, Kyle?
What's up, brother? Like you said before, with the Tisch family going on and like the old school mentality, and Bill Belichick being there back in the day, he understands what's going on. And you are right. I really don't think that Shanahan has any idea what he's doing. I think that the puzzle pieces have to come from Bill Belichick if he comes into the office. I really do think that he's going to have to pick out his own players and make his own regime with it. But since I really don't think that's going to be logical, why not go with a guy like Marcus Freeman? A guy that's, fresh in college, making a name for himself at Notre Dame. Like, why not go into, look at the head coaches in college, in the collegiate level?
Yeah, that's a huge risk. Thanks for the call, Kyle. Maybe Fleegs can help me. Fleegs, do you remember the last college coach that came into the NFL and got, I'm trying to think, when was the, and not talking like Nick Saban to the Dolphins or Lane Kiffin to the,
Matt Rule came to the Panthers. It did not work out.
Yeah, that doesn't even, they don't even do that anymore.
I guess the only one is Harbaugh, because he was at Stanford before
but he was
coming to the NFL.
The 49ers head coach before that and kind of had to get up out of there before the hammer came down. The NFL, that's not a trend in the NFL anymore. They're not reaching down into college to bring these guys up. They're going for the Ben Johnsons and Aaron Glenn's of the world, the coordinators that have success in the league, because it's too much to take on. Being the head ball coach at Notre Dame is a high-profile job, but it's nothing like the New York Football Giants, man. So, I get the thought, and there was a list that I had in my notes where somebody had Marcus Freeman. Let's see, Giants Daily. Let's go through their list at NYG
Tom Coughlin
Daily.
was a college coach first, but he also, the Giants were his second NFL job.
Yeah, so it's just I guess we got to go look at the college coaches that are coaching right now that coached in the NFL. It's the other way around. Wink Martindale was a coordinator in the NFL, can't get back in the NFL, has to go to Michigan. Joe Judge, another example, was down there in Ole Miss. So, yeah. Giants Daily, who does a great job on Twitter at NYG Daily. Some early candidates that intrigue Giants Daily. Chargers DC, Jesse Minter. Packers DC, Jeff Hafley. Rams DC, Chris Shula. Vikings DC, Brian Flores. Chiefs DC, Steve Spagnuolo. That is an interesting one. I'll talk more about that in a second. 49ers DC, Rob Saleh. That's not happening. Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. That's another one I'll expound on more. Bucks offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard and Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman. The only two that I think are potentials there. If Steve Spagnuolo is over it in Kansas City, which we've had this conversation before, Keith, why isn't he getting opportunities to be a head coach? Because he's damn near a senior citizen, and I think he knows that he's in a spot where he's going to collect rings and go down as the best offensive coordinator of all time. So why mess that up? Why would you want to leave Patrick Mahomes? Why would you want to leave Andy Reid, Travis Kelce? They're, complement of receivers, and then doesn't matter who he has on defense, they find a way. If Steve Spagnuolo has an itch to scratch and wants to come back to New York and take that job, okay, I understand that. That's a defensive-minded coach that has a ton of experience, has done a lot of winning, knows how a winning operation is supposed to be run, has done it before. That's a guy where it's like, okay, defensive-minded, whatever. Who's he bringing in as his offensive coordinator? I heard some rumblings about Matt Nagy, another guy who he's with the Chiefs right now. So, could you imagine that? I don't think so, because Matt Nagy will probably get some head coach consideration. But if Spags comes over and brings Nagy, those are two guys that were former head coaches in the league, and Nagy would come in and run the offense with Dart. I think he'd be great. But I don't think it's going to happen, man. Those two, you think Spags is going to look at Joe Schoen in the eye and be like, yes, sir, Dean Cain, sir. No, that's what I'm getting at, bro. And that's why I said the scope is pointed at Joe Schoen. The next coach of the Giants, if he is the one leading the search for them, has to be somebody that vibes with him. Has to be somebody that wants to work with him, at least for the first year. And I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. Somebody might not like the idea that, hey, yeah, I got to work with this guy and he could be gone in a year. Somebody might not like the idea, I don't know, that this guy has brought in, he's missed on draft picks. He's brought in a lot of losing players. He's been the general manager of a generally managed losing franchise. Mm-hmm. Mike is in Clifton Park. Mike, you're on the fan.
Hey, so, what should happen is I think the Giant ownership should see if there is a GM that comes from a winning team that wants to come to New York and try to make it here, and you'll have to overpay him. But then that GM can also attract the experienced coach, and that's really, I think, what needs to happen. Because if you don't do that, it doesn't add up well. It becomes a mess any way you look at it. This has to be clean, and you have to overpay for a good GM to come here and have that GM attract a experienced coach. And that's it. And thanks, Keith, for hearing me out.
Yeah, and let's say this, folks. It is now November 11th, and they told you on November 10th that Joe Schoen would lead the coaching search, but that's not written in stone. It's not a lock. It's not a guarantee. I think they made a decision that heads had to roll after that disappointment, after the way that Jackson Dart was put in danger, after some of the decisions that were made. It's all right, bro, head coach got to go. But I think Shane could be let go at the end of the season. And I think depending on how the offseason search goes for the next GM or head coach, this is to be continued, to be determined. Nothing is locked up yet. If you got to overpay for a GM, so what? The Giants are worth $10.3 billion. And didn't they just sell part of the team to the Koch family? Bring them into the conversation as well. There's also conversation about John Mara's health. And I hope he's doing okay. I hope he's doing well. But it'll make him feel a lot better and make everybody around him feeling a lot better. Nailing this next head coach and potentially moving on from this GM and figuring that out too. I got one more hour. Stay with me. I got a ton of calls. I'm going to get to you all. There's only one thing to talk about, like I said, is this giant mess, this giant situation that I fear is going to resemble a lot of what we just have experienced from Ben McAdoo to Pat Shurmur to Joe Judge to Brian Daboll. It's a vicious cycle, and they've already repeated a mistake that they've done in the past. Firing the head coach, keeping the GM. I just feel like it's not a guarantee that this GM is going to be here. It's not a guarantee that you want this guy finding the next head coach because it's trickier than it seems. But I think getting out in front of it in this second week of November is smart because Brian Daboll was always going to get fired. And the longer you wait, the harder it is to find the next candidate. 888-808-1019. Keith McPherson on the Fan. We'll be right back.
It's Boomer and Gio, mornings on the Fan, 101.9 FM.
It looked like it was one of those old throwback games with throwback giant uniforms against the Bears in the snow. It was actually a great watch until the fourth quarter, of course.
Listen to Boomer and Gio on demand on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
Sponsored by the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee.
Everyone knows when Sunday comes around for kickoff and tailgates, you got to come ready. And who's the MVP of my game day spread? Mike's Amazing Mustard. This stuff just isn't a condiment, it's the first round pick. Put it on your hot dog, your sausage, or your favorite hero, and it's an instant touchdown. It's bold, it's got that perfect bit of spice, and it always delivers in the clutch. So this season, when it's 4th and goal at the grill, don't pass the ketchup, pass the mustard. Mike's Amazing Mustard. Find it this season at ShopRite.
Imagine a gentleman's club with over 200 gorgeous exotic dancers every week.
Hey, big boy.
From the people who make fantasies come true, Gallagher's 2000 in Long Island City is the place to be. Gallagher's 2000, a gentleman's club for today, gentlemen. Gallagher's 2000 features 2 floors, 3 stages, discounted drinks, VIP, champagne rooms, and dinner specials every night. Gallagher's 2000 offers complimentary lunch Thursdays and Fridays with any drink purchase.
Come on down, big boy.
Gallagher's 2000 is New York's largest upscale gentleman's club, and Gallagher's 2000's bachelor parties will blow you away. For their bachelor party specials, call 718-361-1348. Gallagher's 2000 is located at 4319 37th Street in Long Island City, Queens, just a half a block north of Queens Boulevard. Call 718-361-1348. Gallagher's 2000 is unlike any club in New York. Come tonight for the time of your life. Gallagher's 2000.
Let your imagination run wild.
At Town Fair Tire, New England's largest name brand discount tire dealer, you get it all. The guaranteed lowest price, the most free services, and we accept all valid rebates from any manufacturer and from our competition. Yes, we accept them all, even competitor rebates. Town Fair Tire, New England's largest discount tire dealer, now with over 120 stores from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Name brands at discount prices. Town Fair Tire.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-555-2085. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-555-2085. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-555-2085 or biglou.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9834. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-9834. That's 800-575-9834. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Wake up with Boomer and Geo. Mornings 6 to 10 on WFAN, WFAN FM, WFAN FM HD1, New York, and Odyssey Sports Stations.
WFAN Sports Flash.
Good morning at 1 o'clock. I'm Marco Belletti, and this report is sponsored by Chef IQ. Precision cooking, effortless results, chefiq.com. Also brought to you by police officers, right-to-sue.com. Well, at 2 and 8 and 11 and 33 since the start of 2023, the time has come for Brian Daboll. Fired as Giants head coach, while GM Joe Schoen will remain to find his replacement. Daboll gets credit for Jackson Dart, seemed to give himself a reprieve with the play of the rookie, but numerous blown leads, along with Dart ending in concussion protocol, finally sealed Daboll's fate. Mike Kafka takes over on the interim. For the Jets, Garrett Wilson's out 3 to 4 weeks with a sprained knee. Jets will look to make it 3 straight wins Thursday against the Patriots. Now, Aaron Glenn refusing to name a starter once again, though, but spoke about the play of Fields.
When you get 2 returns like that on special teams, the offense doesn't have a good amount of plays, especially in the passing game. We only threw 11 passes. I think he was 6 of 11. Obviously, there's some things that we got to clean up there, but there are also some good things that he did. I know he threw the 1 pick. I would say this. I was happy that he tried to force the ball, get the ball downfield in that situation.
Eagles able to hold off the Packers 10-7 Monday Night Football. Rangers matched their goal total through their first 7 home games. They doubled the Predators 6-3, notched their first win at the Garden. Artemi Panarin with a pair. And Matt Barzal, your game winner Islanders, survived the Devils 3-2 in overtime. 32 saves, Ilya Sorokin. 34 degrees, clear sky, Central Park. That's what's happening. I'm Marco Belletti.
Get connected with WFAN to talk about your favorite teams. The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeart, and TuneIn apps.
I was just laughing at Aaron Glenn again. I was saying to Marco, I'm like, what is Aaron Glenn talking about? I was happy with him trying to, he just said he was happy with Justin Fields trying to get the ball downfield, force the ball downfield. He stared down one receiver, threw it into triple coverage. It was like a 10, 15-yard pass. Stop. He did not have another good game. He hasn't, I don't know. It doesn't matter. The Jets win. The Jets found a way to win. Shout out to Quincy Williams. Shout out to Will McDonald. Shout out to Armand Membu and Simpson hitting their gritty after they got the win. But Aaron Glenn, bro, you want to talk about a guy. He had the battery in his back off of just Woody Johnson giving him hugs. Woo! Now he's got 2 wins under his belt and a trade deadline win. Not going anywhere. Don't ask about my quarterback. It's a competitive disadvantage for them to know they're facing Justin Fields. Give me a break. 888-808-1019. As DB in the chat is talking to me about Jackson Dart. And he says, Jones and Dart are playing very similar run patterns. And I think there's obviously parallels between, hey, the Giants drafted Daniel Jones and they did the same thing to him. Changed the head coach. Blah, blah, blah. But, I went on to say, yeah, it's similar, and they are repeating the mistake of firing the coach and keeping the GM. But Dart is different, bro. I think he's going to ball regardless. And DB says in the chat, yeah, he's superior mentally and physically. Maybe one day as Jets fans can have a quarterback like Dart. Maybe if Aaron Glenn can identify a quarterback like that. Maybe he needs Darren Muji to do that, a former quarterback, because I don't know what they saw in Justin Fields. They had me fooled, though. I thought they had a plan for Justin Fields. They still are figuring it out with Justin Fields. But anyway, we're talking about who's going to coach the Giants next. And, we don't have any idea. But this is what you do as a fan. This is what we do as, just fans being critical and thinking and using our brains. Like I said, you can rule out Brian Flores. You can rule out John Gruden. There's a reason nobody else has sniff those guys. There's a reason that those guys are suing the NFL. And if you don't think behind closed doors, Roger Goodell and them are saying, hey, don't do that. Don't do that. Brian Flores is an offensive coordinator is fine. But the face and front man of a team, There's only 32 of those jobs. John Gruden, he's with Barstool. And not for nothing, didn't Barstool and Portnoy get at Roger Goodell and call him a clown, and they got like banned from the Super Bowl and all this stuff? I don't think anybody's hiring John Gruden either. So we can keep going through your thoughts and your ideas and talk through who you think it's going to be. But I just think it's going to be tough to nail this with Joe Schoen. I just think it's going to be tough to nail this with a guy with his reputation, his personality. Like, go back and watch Hard Knocks. He was the face of Hard Knocks. There is a reason that nobody in the NFL will ever do an offseason Hard Knocks. It was cool when we saw it. But then when we saw how it played out in the aftermath, it ain't cool anymore. It's mocked. They're made fun of. And the Giants of all teams that wouldn't do the regular Hard Knocks for years decide, yeah, come be a fly on the wall for Joe Schoen's operation. And that's another thing. The Post just had an article with Joe Schoen and that operation. And there's a lot of people talking about how they think Mara and Tish are fooled by Joe Schoen because, yes, they have modernized the process. How Gettleman was old school, and we always made fun of his binders and how on draft night he had all these, papers like printouts and not enough screens. And some people think that Joe Schoen has kind of fooled the Giants into thinking that he's this smart, revolutionary GM. But where's the proof? I just think you're crazy if you don't think he's just as responsible for this giant mess as Brian Daboll is. No? And then when it came out today that it was Mara and Tish who came in with the decision, and I don't know how it goes. You just believe whatever you want to believe. Half of what you see, none of what you hear. But it was written Monday, late morning. Mara and Tish had a conversation on the phone together. They agreed it was time for a change, obviously. It was time for a change after the Broncos game, after you lost 10 straight games last year. They called in their general manager, Joe Schoen, and informed him of their decision that offensive coordinator Mike Kafka would be elevated as the interim head coach. And then the co-owners brought Daboll in and told him that his time as head coach had come to an end. And a lot of us have gone back and looked at the video at the end of the game. He knew he was dead man walking. You can't lose that one and lose the quarterback. You can't. So Brian Daboll was, dead man walking. He was going to be fired at some point. But it is kind of crazy to look at this Giants team and look at Shane Bowen, who still has a job. The first thing I tweeted was fire everyone after the Dallas game. But then I narrowed it down to, okay, fire Shane Bowen. That was week 3. No, that was week 2. And here we are now going into week 11 against the Packers, who are fraudulent, who have lost to the Carolina Panthers. If you had 150,000. I don't know if you guys are up on that. Carolina Mike. If you're on the internet like I am, of course, like Carolina Mike has gone viral. He performed at the game on Sunday where, of course, they lose to Tyler Shuck and the New Orleans Saints. But if you are a musical person and maybe you're a little off, make a Jets or Giants song. Go viral. Carolina Mike made a song, and all he did was talk about buying the Carolina Panthers or buying season tickets for the Panthers. He's a celebrity now. He's viral sensation. The kid Seth with the Colts, he's the reason that the Colts are doing what they're doing this year. This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue. We love them for the shoe. You guys know what I'm talking about. You got the younger generation that's on the internet knows. Let's get back to the phones talking about this giant mess. Ross is in Bergen County on the Fan. What's up, Ross?
Hey, Keith. How you doing, man? Hope you had a good time on that trip.
I had a great time. Good to be back.
Love to hear it, man. I mean, this whole thing is just crazy with Daboll and all that. I thought for sure, and I knew the leash was getting shorter and shorter. I mean, the Denver, you're talking about the Dallas game. I mean, maybe just because Russ was there and Dart was like an unknown. I can't believe they all survived the Denver game. And now the thing that surprised me the most was that him and Shane weren't hand in hand. Because I heard Evan bring it up before that Poles kind of did this with Eberflus, and then Poles sticking around despite Eberflus getting the door, and then Poles being able to hire Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Poles and Eberflus didn't come from the same team. The whole dig with Shane, and then a few months later Daboll, or whichever way it was, is that they were both coming from the Buffalo regime.
Package deal,
like year.
Yes.
and I don't know what. And I'm a little higher on Shane's moves than you are. I think guys like Drew Phillips, Dubin, are they going to go
They're
out
good players.
and win Defensive Player of the Year?
They have their flaws like anyone else, but they're good players.
I think they're fine, yeah, but at the same time, I don't think that's something that warrants keeping the guy's job, 3 or 4 season after season. And if it is, I don't think what Daboll's done is enough to fire him. I don't know where Daboll did enough to get fired. And Shane Bowen, forget it. He probably should have been fired going into the year.
But they can't do it. Like, that's what I said before. Like, who's going to run the defense? The defense is the pain point. The defense is the one folding when they have a lead late in the games. So like they can't fire Shane Bowen and say, all right, next man up. Whoever's a defensive line coach, DB's coach, like you do a job you've never done before.
Wink's laughing right now. You just know it. The whole thing with him and Daboll having falling out.
Yeah, he might have lit a cigar up. He might have cracked a bottle today in favor of Daboll getting fired.
I want to throw 2 names into the ring. I know everybody's talking about Gruden. Kiffin, I think, is the odds-on favorite. I don't really even get the Jesse Minter hype. I think they got to go offensive-minded, just off start alone, and it kind of feels like Kiffin's like the obvious choice. But I'll throw 2 obscure names into the ring. Just on the topic of Kiffin, everybody's talking about bringing in Kiffin to appease Dart. How about Kenny Dillingham to appease Scat? You were talking about that AZ State game. That whole season for Arizona State was a godsend. They wound up I think they had one of the bye season the first year of the 12-seed format. Everybody raves about the guy. I know it's a long shot, but everybody loves Scatteraboo off of
that
3
would
or
be
4 games
such a quick ascent for him.
Look at it's apples to oranges, but we saw Tony Vitello in baseball, first ever college coach turned MLB manager.
Yeah, they're going a lot younger. That's a trend in baseball.
Yeah.
I think the trend in the NFL is just going away from that. They're going to offensive coordinators that have been successful in the NFL and that are next up and ready for their opportunity to take over as head coach.
I think the last one we saw was Rule, right? Because Urban
Matt
Meyer
Rule of Carolina, coming out of Temple.
College. Yeah. And I'll throw another one in there is Anthony Campanelli. He's the Jaguars defensive coordinator. I don't know if you know the Campanelli dynasty here in Jersey. I don't know if there's like a local tie there and they bring him in. He coached at Bosco. There's connections there. I don't know. I think he's done a solid job with them.
I don't know if that's going to hold weight here in this. Like, thanks for the call, Ross. Like, then go get Darren Rizzi, the special teams coordinator that got head coaching consideration after he was the interim head coach for the Saints. Now I believe he's with the Broncos. Go get him then. This Giants fans are sick and tired of the losing. Like, every Sunday turning into the same deja vu, vicious cycle. They're not into the local ties and the fun stories anymore. Get somebody in here that knows what they're doing and get it right. Now, here's an example that, Pete Carroll. How is Pete Carroll done with the Raiders? All right? Like, he seemed like Tom Brady and Spytek and those guys out there with Al Davis, or Mark Davis. How has that worked out going to an experienced head coach? It hasn't worked out in year 1. Maybe it'll work out in year 2 or 3, but he's old. Nothing is surefire, nothing's a lock. But I think you complicate the situation. It's already complicated. And I think you complicate the situation leaving Joe Schoen here to be the one to go find this next guy and this guy having to agree to work with him. The Bear is in the Bronx on the Fan in New York.
How are you, Keith?
Good.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's a huge mistake leaving the general manager there. But how about this name? How about Jeff Fisher?
Jeff Fisher is a name that I just thought of because in the chat they were talking about how Steve Spagnuolo failed in St. Louis with the Rams. And I'm like, that's a place that a lot of good coaches went to fail. Jeff Fisher failed there.
Yeah, and he was pretty good with the Titans.
What, does he do any TV? Is he on NFL Network or is he hanging around? I think that might be like Steve Mariucci I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you must be because I haven't seen him on the NFL Network. But I don't know why his name isn't thrown in the ring.
Yeah, because he's just been out of the game for a good amount of time. Thanks for the call, Bear. Doug Peterson is another name that popped in my head. Doug Peterson is a good coach. Doug Peterson is a guy that would command respect. an offensive-minded guy that I think would come in and get things right. And he would know that, like he doesn't get any respect for what he was starting to do in Jacksonville, and they're always a mess. They're in the bottom of the barrel with the Jets and the Giants and the Browns over the last decade. And, I mean, what he did in Philly, they quickly were able to pivot and go away from him and win another Super Bowl. But Doug Peterson is a name. I would interview him. I would see what he's about right now. And I know he wants to keep coaching. And I know he'd take this Giants job and he'd hit the ground running. 888-808-1019. Tony is in Brooklyn next on the Fan. What you thinking, Tony?
I got a name for you, Frank Reich. He had the Colts on the right track.
Did Boomer mention? Oh, well, Boomer wasn't on today when the news broke after the morning show. So that's a name I think Boomer might bring to the table or have some thoughts on. Yeah, he's a good coach too, and an offensive-minded guy.
He had the Colts. He had the Colts on the right path, I think.
He did. I don't know what he's doing right now. Is he coaching anywhere?
I don't know. I was going to ask you if you know where he was. I haven't heard his name in a while.
Yeah, I think he's at Stanford. But he's at Stanford. He's let's see.
I think he would jump at the job.
He's an interim head coach at Stanford right now, and I haven't watched much Stanford, but I know the tie to Andrew Luck, who went out there to be their AD, so that makes sense. But good call, Tony. Frank Wright is another guy that I would interview. Now, I had this thought during the break, and I went to try and look it up. You know how the Jets hired the 33rd team, and they left no stone unturned? They almost got to the point where they were interviewing people where I thought it was counterproductive. Like they interviewed the Maryland coach and Mike Loxley, and I'm like, what the hell are you interviewing him for? He's not even good at the college level. Like, what are we doing? But I think the Giants need that kind of process. But how are you going to have that kind of process if Mara and Tisch are already resigned to, we trust you, Joe, you got it. You lead the search. I think that's a mistake. Because it's already complicated enough that you got to come into the New York market where it's tough. You know, I immediately thought today, Brian Daboll lasted for 4 years, and he was terrible for the last 3. Tom Thibodeau got fired for losing in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, it's tough, man. I also thought about Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone is safe. Carlos Mendoza is safe. But they had to get rid of Brian Daboll. And the next coach that comes in here has to be someone first off the bat. And I hope that this changes. But first off the bat has to be somebody that Joe Schoen likes, interviews, talks to. And these are long processes when they interview and talk to these guys. They get a good feel for each other's personality. And like, it's got to be somebody that has seen and heard all these things about Joe Schoen and says, no, I don't mind that. And I think it's a really attractive job, minus that. Like, you have the quarterback. You have a number 1 wide receiver. You have the running back. You have Tyrone Tracy as well at running back. You could draft another running back with the draft capital. You have Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, Cordell Flott, Drew Phillips. Like, you have, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much there. Abdul Carter. The complicated thing is this fan base is tired of losing. You'll be expected to win right away in the New York market, and you got to work with Joe Schoen. It's that simple. John is in Warwick on the Fan next. Hello, John.
Hey, Keith. How are you? Love your show. Keith, a name that I'd like to put out there that this guy is really under the radar, and he is a great football mind, former football player, a walk-on at Wisconsin, a great defensive coordinator at Wisconsin, and now as an assistant in Denver is Jim Leonard, believe it or not, the former Jet. This guy has very quietly made his way up through the college ranks, has been very successful, and now is the assistant head coach with the Broncos, and they're mastermind, offensive-minded head coach. He is a young guy. He is kind of a sleeper, but known to be very smart. And I think he just somehow has to be thrown into this mix. He may rise from the bottom, or it would be great if they even just looked at him. But he is a young, defensive-minded coach who's learning the whole game, who is out there, and nobody is talking about him. Nobody.
Well, you just brought his name up now, and I'm looking into him a bit, and yeah, he's young too, where I think that's a good thing. I think they're leaning towards these younger coaches, these offensive-minded coaches, but also these coaches that are able to connect with these players. And he's going to be now someone coming out of the Sean Payton coaching tree. And obviously, there's ties there to the Giants. I think that he's someone that they should interview too. I really think they need to cast a wide net. They should be starting as soon as today. Joe Schoen, if I'm Joe Schoen and I hear that I'm safe, I would have my list of 10 guys right now. I'd start putting that list together right now. I'd start working on it because that's the only way he saves his job. That's the only way he gets an extension pass next year if he hits on the coach.
Absolutely, Keith. And also, it's still a little too early. Shane, who I think should be gone, as most Giant fans, you never know at the end of the year if it continues to be dismal, they may let him go. But in the meanwhile, it's a bad move to keep him. And it's kind of disheartening to think that the two Giant owners would get together, converse about this situation, and come out thinking that Joe Schoen is the guy, at least till the end of the season. That is disconcerting. That is alarming.
Thanks for the call, John. Yeah, honestly, I didn't think they were going to fire anyone because it's the Giants' way. The Giants don't fire the head coach in season, but like this is a literal dead man walking. The seat had been super hot, like not just last week, not just the Broncos game. I mean, that Saints game is one that that one's always going to get after you. Like, what? Lost to the Saints? Daboll was always going to be fired. But yeah, it is kind of crazy that they got together and they're like, we're going to fire him now, but we're gonna give the vote of confidence to Joe Schoen. You don't have to do that. Like when that statement went out there, you don't have to do that. You could fire the head coach and it's to be seen with Joe Schoen. So that's where I think you kind of repeating the same mistakes and you're kind of missing the mark a bit. And I just know. Remember in Hard Knocks. Like, Joe Schoen, a couple things rubbed me the wrong way. One of them, Joe Schoen is riding around. I think he's riding around like Route 3 or somewhere in North Jersey. And he claims that he didn't know what station sports talk radio was in this area. Yeah, you've never heard of 101.9 FM? The home of the Giants? Where Evan and Tiki are going to come out there and interview you? Like, don't play games. Like, that's how they opened up Hard Knocks. He's driving in a car like, oh, I never listen to the radio. Sure you do. Because, like, you have so many answers and things prepared, and then they showed us your process going into, like, just the combine. Oh, hey, what happens if they ask you this? What if they have, what are you going to say? Joe Schoen has a lot of stuff that we've seen on video about his process and his personality that, like, this doesn't make anybody feel good. And then when they put the tweet out, today, but they didn't put the full message out. Like, you had to click on the link and scroll down, to get the full message. They really just put out, the New York Giants announced today, Mike Kafka will serve. We spoke this morning about the franchise, blah, 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 blah. And then there was more that popped up later about Joe Schoen and Joe Schoen leading the team. And to me, that's why I said earlier, this is nasty work. Joe Schoen, that was your right-hand man. You guys came here together. You guys made decisions together. You sat in meetings and press conferences, and you took the bullets together over the years, and somehow you saved yourself. For now. Because I don't think that I don't think it's a lock. I think there's a lot of people coming out there that are still giving Brian Daboll his flowers, but they understand. During the break, I'm going to try and clip some of that John Feliciano podcast. See, it's a 5-minute clip, but you got to just hear how these former players are talking about Schoen versus Daboll. They got respect for Dabes. They don't respect Schoen. Schoen is the same guy that called somebody's agent and told him, don't pay the rent. I'm cutting your ass. That stuff, like, that travels. That was Nick McLeod last year. That travels with the players. Justin Pugh, who briefly popped in with the Giants a year ago. He said the next Giants head coach needs experience, cannot be a first-time head coach, needs to know how to deal with the outside noise and understand the pressure of being in New York. Most coordinators don't make great head coaches, so please spare me with those names. That doesn't make them bad offensive coordinators or DCs, but they're not CEO material, and that's okay. So many names will fly around, but there are probably only 1 to 2 names available now that work. Our best option is probably already a head coach. It's honestly worth the discussion. Should we trade for a head coach? I guess. Or you could do what the Knicks did, knock on everybody's door. Hey, your coach available? You giving him up? Can we steal him from you? No? Mike Tomlin's name's going to come up. Dan Orlovsky put out Kevin Stefanski with the Browns, assuming that the Browns completely tankathon and try and draft a quarterback and go in a different direction from Kevin Stefanski. He's a former Coach of the Year winner. I think that might be somebody in consideration too. But, what a giant mess. What a giant mess. Bobby Skinner, who I had on a couple weeks ago from formerly Talking Giants and now the Giants Nation pod, tweeted out, 3rd time that John Mara has fired a head coach without the GM being fired. He fired Tom Coughlin after 2015 and retained Jerry Reese. Then it was Reese and McAdoo fired in 2017. Fired Pat Shurmur after 2019, retained Dave Gettleman. Gettleman and Judge fired after 2021. Fired Brian Daboll in 2025, retained Joe Schoen. Fill in the blank. Now, I know you probably heard me and definitely Big Mac say, okay, and this is weeks ago or years ago, okay, they fired Brian Daboll after Brian Daboll hit on the quarterback. Do you trust John Mara to make the right hire? I don't think he trusts himself. So what he's going to do is put his trust in Joe Schoen. I don't think that's much better. I don't think that's much better, man. I don't know what to tell y'all. Robbie's in Lenox on the Fan before we break. What's up, Robbie?
Hey, I'm taking the call. When I found out the news, it's funny. I was watching the game with my girlfriend the other night, and she left with 2 minutes left. She said, I know they're going to lose. And you know what? I said to her, this is a blessing in disguise. And finally, Daboll's gone. But I agree with you. Joe Schoen should be gone. I mean, look at the straps. You know what's funny? One of my friends this day, they took Neighbors. I said, these are obvious picks. Scatterboo might be the best pick that he ever did. So, and that was in the 4th round. So, but I'm glad he's gone. But I mean, to me, why isn't Shane Bowen lost his job today? And who says Mike Kafka's such a genius when he call a bunch of plays and you can't decide when you're going to take a touchdown on a 2-7 record with a half a foot to go? And they could have put Jameis Winston. If Dart does not play next week, I want to see Jameis Winston. I've had it.
That's the first test. That's the first test for Mike Kafka. Yep. Do you roll Russell Wilson out there, or do you have the balls to say, no, we're going with Jameis?
No, you got to go with Jameis. And if you had Jameis last week, you could have put Jameis in at a half yard and extended Jameis. How tall is Jameis? 6'5"? You could have put him right in there, extended him behind the center, and you would have won the game, basically, or the game would have been tied, worst-case scenario. So Daboll was horrible. The Denver game should have been the end of him. Anyway, I just want to say one thing. By the way, a big Ranger win tonight. And you know what? The Knicks were so much more entertaining under Mike Brown. I watched the other night. Oh, my God, the passing, the movement. It's like all-time basketball watching it, Keith. So, anyway, brother, carry on. It's so much better. It's like, yeah, you get your threes and stuff. But watching them pass 4 times in a sequence and watching guys drive down the middle.
Thanks for the call, Robbie. We got a break. Congrats to the Rangers filling up the net at home, and congrats to the Islanders, who I already mentioned, went over there to Newark and beat the Devils. But there's one thing to talk about, and we will continue talking about that right after this.
It may be the offseason for the Bombers and Amazons, but there's no offseason for Yankees and Mets talk. Get the latest here. The Fan, 101.9 FM, and always streaming on the Odyssey, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio app.
Town Fair Tire honors any valid rebates, manufacturers or competitors' rebates. Yes, even any competitors' rebates. And we give you the guaranteed lowest price. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.
Town Fair Tire.
This is J.J. Hill of Shulman & Hill, New York's premier injury law firm. We'll always fight for you if you're injured at a construction site. If you've ever wished you had a lawyer in the family, now you will. At Shulman & Hill, it's never one and done. Once you're a client, you're always part of our family. Shulman & Hill, we're not just New York's law firm, we're your law firm. Get your free consultation at hurtny.com. That's hurtny.com.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere.
had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/life.
Nobody had to tell your grandparents not to drive while using their typewriters. Why should it be any different for us kids and our cell phones? Distracted driving was the cause of more than 3,000 deaths in 2022. Come on, we're smarter than this. Let's put down the phones and focus on the roads. Drive safe, everybody.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
I can still remember my very first paycheck. It felt great, but waiting for it, brutal. With Cash App Direct Deposit, you can actually get paid up to 2 days earlier than some banks. That means your money is in your hands faster when you actually need it. Download Cash App today. Use code WFAN10, send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and get $10 instantly. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App.
Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Direct deposit overdraft coverage and discounts provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
Imagine a gentleman's club with over 200 gorgeous exotic dancers every week.
Hey, big boy.
From the people who make fantasies come true, Gallagher's 2000 in Long Island City is the place to be. Gallagher's 2000, a gentleman's club for today, gentlemen. Gallagher's 2000 features 2 floors, 3 stages, discounted drinks, VIP, champagne rooms, and dinner specials every night. Gallagher's 2000 offers complimentary lunch Thursdays and Fridays with any drink purchase.
Come on down, big boy.
Gallagher's 2000 is New York's largest upscale gentleman's club, and Gallagher's 2000's bachelor parties will blow you away. For their bachelor party specials, call 718-361-1348. Gallagher's 2000 is located at 4319 37th Street in Long Island City, Queens, just a half a block north of Queens Boulevard. Call 718-361-1348. Gallagher's 2000 is unlike any club in New York. Come tonight for the time of your life. Gallagher's 2000.
Let your imagination run wild.
Health surprises can change your life in an instant. You've seen it happen to others, but it doesn't have to be your story. At Princeton Longevity Center, we customize actionable and proactive health plans to maximize your lifespan and take control of your health. Our Cancer Check program combines cutting-edge technology with top medical expertise to keep you ahead of potential risks. With advanced full-body imaging, genetic testing, and multi-cancer detection blood tests, we look for even the earliest signs of problems. Results are analyzed by expert physicians who craft a personalized plan to safeguard your future. You're not just a patient, you're a partner in your health journey, backed by a team committed to helping you live longer, healthier, and more vibrantly. Our programs have saved hundreds of lives and empowered countless others to take control of their health. Be proactive with your health for the ultimate peace of mind. Call 888-8000-PLC or visit PrincetonLongevityCenter.com.
This city lives and breathes sports. WFAN is where Yankees fans argue with Mets fans and Giants fans debate Jets fans. Live, loud, and daily. The Fan, 101.9 FM and always streaming on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn apps.
Okay, I got 20 minutes. Let's hit this thing. Let's keep rocking. Keith McPherson on the Fan. Big Mac coming up next. There's only one thing to talk about. It's the state of the New York Football Giants. Brian Daboll is out. Joe Schoen is still here. And I did go find the audio that I want to play for you right now. It's like 90 seconds. Bear with us. This is former Giant offensive lineman Jonathan Feliciano. And we got to give credit to the NOF, Not Our Fault podcast. Where it's him and Jamil Douglas, 2 offensive linemen, ex-NFL offensive linemen. They're out of the game now. But, like, when you hear the actual players talk about these things, because we are in the modern-day time where they have podcasts, they have YouTube, they can immediately go out there and do this stuff, you got to listen to it, and you got to take their word for what it is, in my opinion. So let's play that.
I think Dabes was the right guy for the job. It's kind of hard to win games when your best players get traded or just get away for nothing. You go down the list. Myself, Jay Love, the safety from Green Bay, McKinney, Leo, Saquon. I mean, list goes on and on. Shane's going to get fired by the end of the season. I think it's easier to fire a coach during the midseason. All these guys are my friends. Joe Shane's my friend. We definitely had some rough patches, especially after, I had a pretty good year as a center over there. And then, just be all full disclosure. He offered me a little more than vet minimum. San Francisco comes in and offers me $3 million to be a backup, which I eventually became the starter towards the end of the season, started in the Super Bowl.
My boy got the bag on.
So, I didn't want to leave New York at all. I wanted to stay with Dabes and Bobby and help them, lead that team. But obviously, it worked out for me going somewhere else, making more money, and making it to the Super Bowl.
So, do you think he deserved to be fired?
Dabes, no shot. Yeah, I understand the firing. You keep losing close games, but at the same time, it's you fire that coach outside, but when you're in that building, you know what he means to the players.
Yeah, you can cut it right there, Fleegs. That is pretty much what I've said all night. Right? And even using the example of Mike McDaniel, the head coach with the Dolphins, from week 2 or 3 on, people saying he was a dead man walking. They fired the GM, though, and the players responded to the coach. So what the Giants just did was get the best coach out of the building, the smartest X and O's guy out of the room. They also don't have their best player on the field now in Jackson Dart. So let's see if Mike Kafka makes the big decision whether he wants to start Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. It won't matter either way. And also, you just heard Feliciano talk about whatever. Shane's probably getting fired at the end of the year. It's something that they do right now for the outside. But when you see the effect that it already has on a struggling team anyway, and they're about to go up against 3 of the better teams in the NFL, the Packers, the Lions, and the Patriots consecutively, I don't know, folks. I don't know what to tell you. Good luck, I guess. Tony is in Fairfield, Connecticut on the Fan Next. Go for it, Tony.
Hey, Keith, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So here's an idea that I think would fit the Giant tradition. I don't have a name, but a thought. How about one of the major service academy coaches? They've all had success. You wouldn't be recruiting a guy making $10 million a year. They're at a huge competitive disadvantage. They can't take advantage of NIL. And they continue to put a quality product, for the most part, on the field.
They're worth interviewing. I understand the line of thought. I would interview
every one of them.
I will say Happy Veterans Day right now to those that are out there. I'm wearing an Army fatigue headband, not because I was in the Army, but out of respect for people that have served. I hear where you're coming from, Tony. Thanks for the call. There's no shot that they do that. I can't even name Army, Navy, or Air Force's head coach. I don't think it's ever been done before. This is a huge hiring. This is so crucial. Like, I can't stress to you guys, Big Mac's coming up and I know he will. I can't stress to you guys how important it is for them to get the right leader of men with the young talent that they have. If you screw this up, it will be such a miss. It'll set the franchise back. You're already set back 10 years. Like, you cannot mess up the early careers, the cost-effective careers of Jackson Dart, Cam Scattaboo, Malik Neighbors, Abdul Carter, Andrew Phillips, Cordell Fly. You know what I'm saying? Tyler Newell. Like, these guys that you drafted, you hit on these Theo Johnson. You hit on these guys in the draft class the last 2 years. And honestly, that's what's saving Joe Schoen. But Joe Schoen has to get this right. And honestly, I don't think it should be a lock that he gets to make the decision. Josita Anderson put the clip out that I was talking about. And I assume that this came from the Giants article, but I think it came from the New York Post, where it says, Joe Schoen remains in his position as general manager and will lead the search for a new head coach. In quotes, we feel like Joe has assembled a good young nucleus of talent, and we look forward to its development, said Mara. Unfortunately, the results over the past 3 years have not been what any of us want. We take full responsibility for those results, and we look forward to the kind of success our fans. So that is what the Giants put out there. These are difficult decisions, and John and I do not take them lightly, said Tish, but we feel like this is the right thing to do at this time and will allow us to move forward. But, like, I felt like they did not have to put any endorsement for Joe Schoen in today's statement. Joe Schoen remains in his position as general manager. Yeah, that was once you clicked on the link. And I felt like that was part of how Schoen prepares for media stuff. I don't know if he necessarily had a say in this, but like somebody in a lower level, like somebody made the graphic, someone typed this up, someone tweeted this out, and they might report to Joe Schoen. And I won't say it was cowardice, but I felt like, because you know how people put stuff on Twitter and then people don't ever click the link and take the next step forward? Like, I felt like this was hidden in a link. The tweet says Brian Daboll's been retired from his duties. Mike Kafka will serve. We spoke this morning, yada, past few seasons. But they did not put in that blurb about the talent that Joe Schoen has collected. Anyway, it is what it is, yo. It is what it is. Schoen is safe for now. But you just heard from John Feliciano what he thinks about these players. And he was only there for a year, the first year, 2022. And he went on to greener pastures. He went on to the 49ers in a Super Bowl. He even mentioned Bobby Johnson. Bobby Johnson left, went on to greener pastures. Went to an NFC championship with the Commanders in his first year there. Why is it that so many guys have left and gone on to go all pro and to go to winning franchises and help winning franchises? Again, to me, it goes back to Joe Schoen's GM book for dummies. He wrote it. He's the only one that reads it. Because there is a long list, and he just went through them. Julian Love, Xavier McKinney, Saquon, Daniel Jones. Like, there is a long list of guys that you showed the door so that you could do it your way. And you know what? We trusted your way because you came from the Buffalo Bills, and we thought you had the recipe or formula that they used that built it up for them after they were trashed for years, and now they're able to sustain winning. But you know what? After 4 years, your way hasn't worked. And after 4 years, we keep seeing people go elsewhere and win. You know who the next candidate is for that? It's easy to figure out. The next guy to go somewhere else and go to a winning program and help them win is Brian Daboll as an offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. Wait for it. You wait. Tim is in Maplewood, New Jersey. Tim, you're on the Fan. Timmy. All right, Tim's line is not really sounding good, so we'll have to move on. Sam is in Brooklyn. Sam, are you there? Is your line working?
I'm here, Keith. Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Awesome. Look, I think the thing about keeping Schoen, and I do kind of get it, is he has hit on a bunch of these draft picks in the last couple of years. So I understand why he gets a little bit more of a pass than Daboll, who coaching that talent hasn't been able to deliver. But I totally agree with you on the veteran management. Schoen has done a terrible job and let a lot of good players walk. I wanted to ask you about Kafka. Like, what do you think he has to achieve to have a chance at keeping this job? I mean, he's got no Scadaboo. He's got no neighbors. We'll see when Dart gets back in the lineup. He's kind of playing with a rigged deck, but he is young offensive talent. I feel like he's been interviewed for like half a dozen jobs over the last couple of years. He didn't get any of them, but do you think he's got a legitimate shot, or like what do you think you need to believe for him to keep the job?
Win. Don't blow leads. Score points. I mean, if he's able, it sucks how it all played out. Because after watching the Packers tonight and Jordan Love tonight, I'm like, they're fraudulent as hell. And I remember the last time they came to MetLife Stadium, they laid an egg. And that could happen again this week. But you know what? The Giants are in flux completely. Like, I don't know, if Dart doesn't get concussed and they win that game against the Bears and Daboll doesn't get fired, then you go into this Packers week thinking that they could maybe contend with them. This is a team that lost to Joe Flacco and the Browns. This is a team that lost to Bryce Young and the Panthers. Jackson Dart could beat them. But now I don't think Mike Kafka has a shot to beat them. And I think he's going to be forced, his hand is going to be forced by Shane and co. to say, hey, we're paying Russell Wilson $10 million this year. He's the veteran. He's the next man up, when it should be Jameis. So the things that I need to see from Kafka, man, be man enough to make the decision to say, yo, Russell Wilson is cooked. Jameis, it's your time. You've been such a solid person for Jackson Dart and just a positive energy guy in the clubhouse. You get to start this week. And then if they're able to score points and keep a lead, then Kafka's name will be in consideration, but I don't think he really has a shot. Thanks for the call, Sam. I remember the Seahawks were interested in him. I think the Saints were interested in him. And I think what they did for him was kind of bump him up. To keep him there, they bumped him up to like an assistant head coach. And they like gave him some more money. But I don't think he honestly is the guy for the job. I think what he is, he's an assistant head coach and offensive coordinator was his title. Now he's interim. I think what he is, he's obviously the continuity for Dart. And if you are someone that believes in this, and I don't believe in it anymore, it was contingent on, like Daboll being he's got to stay there with Dart, was also contingent on him doing the other parts of his job, being the CEO and finding ways to win. I saw Emmanuel Acho put out a clip today. He's like, just by NFL standards, you get fired. You don't keep that job losing those games that you had over a 90% chance to win. Like those are fireable offenses. But if you want to, talk about the offense and, I think I heard someone calling a BT and Sal show this morning saying, is there any world where, they bring in another head coach and Brian Daboll is the offensive coordinator? No. But maybe there's a world where they bring in a head coach and Mike Kafka is considered for an offensive coordinator spot. I really don't think there's anything that Kafka can do to win the head coaching job besides winning out, and they're not going to win out. They're not. There's a couple winnable games down the stretch, but these next three are going to be rough, man. These next three are going to be rough. We're in November now. And it's just not going to be pretty. Timber Tony up in Montreal, back on the fan. Tony, where you been?
Where you been, man? I heard you on vacation.
That's what it was.
How are you, my good
You
friend?
weren't gone. I was gone.
Listen, man, we're in a major snowstorm up here in Canada today, and it just stopped after about 6-7 hours. So hopefully you're not in the same storm that we're in. But
it's cold down here, but it's not snowing. I think there is a freeze warning on, but no, we haven't hit the snow yet. I'm not looking forward to it.
Keith, you can't do any dancing tonight up here in Montreal. You're going to have to get your mucklucks on and your skidoo boots and everything else. But definitely not a good night tonight for walking around. I just want to say a couple of things. Daboll, I looked him up, okay? Daboll started out as a scout. He went to DePaul. He's a failed quarterback. He finished his career at DePaul. He was a freshman quarterback, finished as a receiver. Went to Carolina, was an area scout for Miami, went to Carolina, and he hooked up with Brandon, I believe the actual assistant general manager, Brandon Bean.
Yeah.
And Brandon Bean and him followed a path all the way to the Bills, and this is a nepotistic league.
Of course.
It's complete nepotistic.
It's not what you know, it's who you know. Better yet, who knows you and will put your name on top of other names.
So this is my point tonight. It's a nepotistic league, and all these guys that were calling you in tonight, I've been listening for about an hour and a half. Your name in this. Where's the Tom Landry? Where's the Dick? Like these old-time coaches that were scary coaches that lasted 20 years in one place. When I was a kid, I used to watch Dallas. I liked Dallas. And my dad said, look at this guy, Tom Landry, with his fedora. He was a calm guy, and he built teams of power. And, you never heard anyone criticizing him because he was an actual football guy. Or you look at Mike Ditka in in Chicago when the Bears had the refrigerator and they had all these amazing players. These were real coaches. What do you have today? You have a bunch of guys that are nepotistic, hangers-on. I was an assistant coach. I came out of DePaul. Bro, I could have played. If it requires me, okay, to be the scout equal to these guys, I could go down to the Giants. And I'll tell you one thing. You know what's missing? There's a psychopath coach like Mike Ditka that used to throw things and snot coming out of his nose during those after game meetings, and people were scared of him. The players were scared of him. They want to play for him. Where are these crazy coaches, man? Where are these coaches? And then they don't last long. But look at Shane. Shane is a loser, okay? I'll call him a loser. He got through the system because he has buddies everywhere.
Right.
And you know what?
It's a boys'
He
club.
should be gone. You don't look at this. He hires his buddy out of the Bills, and then he fires him, and he doesn't fire himself.
It's a cold game. Thanks for the call, Tony. That's what I said. I don't like it. That's nasty work. You guys were hand in hand, right next to each other. You get to keep your job and find his replacement. That's crazy. You talk about where these coaches are? Like Jonathan Gannon, who came from the Eagles and has been the head coach the last few years with the Arizona Cardinals, when Amari DiMercardo fumbled that ball at the 1, and on the sideline he was seen kind of hitting him, which, it's not a problem. These are grown-ass men, and the player didn't have a problem with it. But he got fined, and he had to apologize, and it became this thing. Oh, my God, how dare he hit the player? I would hit him, too. You cost us the game. We lost to the freaking Titans, man. Those coaches don't last long. You need a player coach. You need a cool dad like Aaron Boone. Last call of the night goes to Felix in Pearl River. Go for it, Felix.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
So I just had a quick point to make. Next year I do think it's very important we get a new, fresh start. I think maybe it would be a good idea to get rid of Joe Schoen. But my main point is Daboll. I don't think that it was. I just don't understand the strategy of firing him in week 10. Giants. Let's be real; they're not making the playoffs.
It's a media thing. It's a here's your pound of flesh. We know that this guy's a dead man walking, and we have a home game. Thanks for the call, Felix. That's a good way to end. The Giants do things based on that building and the fan base. They have a home game coming up. The Packers fans are coming. 81,000 fans were out there, and a lot of them Eagles fans tonight. But the Packers fans are coming to take over that building. We got to do something to get our fans back on our side to come out and buy tickets and root for us so our building isn't overrun by the Packers fans, the cheeseheads, like it was with the Bang Bang Niner gang. I don't know what to tell y'all, man. I want the Giants to be good. My son might be a Giants fan. I want them to figure this out and hit on this head coach, because if they miss, it's going to be a decade. It's going on a decade since Tom Coughlin. It's crucial that they do this right. All right, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching on the live stream. I'll be back tomorrow night. C-Max coming your way next.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. WFAN, New York.
It's Evan and Kiki. Afternoons on the Fan 101.9 FM.
A lot of it is on the coaches, obviously, but ultimately you are judged by the bottom line, and the bottom line for Dave's was not good enough.
Listen to Evan and Kiki on demand on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey! My dad is bringing home the best birthday cake ever!
It was my 5th birthday, and my dad was bringing home the cake.
Should have been here a half hour ago.
The cake never made it, and neither did my dad.
911, what's your emergency?
That was the day a drunk driver killed my dad. Daddy? Impaired drivers take lives. Think.
Sponsored by the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee
Aired in cooperation with the New York State Broadcasters Association.
With over 90 years of combined legal experience representing the law enforcement community, Decolator Cohen and DePrisco, LLP, continues to strive to educate police officers of their civil rights to sue in line-of-duty accident cases. The 2025 Police Officers' Right to Sue newsletter can be viewed on policeofficersrighttosue.com and provides successful results in varying line-of-duty accident cases. These results include damages recovered from RMP accidents involving the City of New York and civilian motorists, station house defects, ricochet injuries from the range, private premises slip and falls, sidewalk slip and falls, construction defects, snow and ice cases, and injuries emanating from defective RMPs. In any LOD accident, it is important for the officer to take photographs of any defects, injuries, or damage. It is also essential to draft the line-of-duty report and detail the cause of the accident in the paperwork. Remember, there's a 90-day time limitation to file a claim against a municipality. If any law enforcement member has a question regarding a potential lawsuit, contact Decolator Cohen and DePrisco, LLP at policeofficersrighttosue.com or call 1-800-901-1529.
Tap Room is your casual gathering place for real food, craft beverages, and every New York game. With 9 Long Island locations, including their newest at Station Yards in Ronkonkoma. It's where you meet friends, make new ones, and never miss the action. Football, hockey, or basketball. Enjoy Sunday game day drink specials, wing night Thursdays, and kids eat free Tuesdays. Tap Room, real food, craft